Hey kids, welcome to section 6.4 finance charges. Today you're going to learn how to compute the finance charge by using the unpaid balance method. Question for today: what are the advantages of shopping online? I can think of lots of advantages. There's also lots of disadvantages. So think about it. So, vocab for today: a credit card company or a charge account at a store may utilize the unpaid balance method to compute the finance charges. Basically, all of the finance charges or late fees or payments that you owe can be calculated using this thing called the unpaid balance method. Basically, it says that the amount of money you haven't paid at the end of the month can be charged a certain percentage of interest. That's your APR that we talked about on the credit account statement a couple sections ago. So in order to calculate the finance charge that you owe and then potentially how much you actually pay for the purchase, we're first going to find the unpaid balance, which is something we've kind of already been talking about. We take the previous balance and subtract any payments or credits. Then we're going to calculate something called the finance charge, which is when we take the unpaid balance and we multiply by the periodic rate. That periodic rate is usually given to you as a percentage. And then finally, we can find how much we actually owe on the credit card, the new balance, by taking that unpaid balance, adding the finance charge, and adding the new purchases. So basically, kids, it's what we did in the last section in 6.3, but now we actually have to calculate the finance charge instead of me giving you the finance charge. So it's one extra step in the process that you have to calculate something in order to find the final answer. I also put the steps here in a little box. Calculate the unpaid balance, calculate the finance charge, calculate the new balance. So just a little recipe that you can look at. All right, let's see some examples. Here are two different tables we're going to use to kind of organize our information. So first, Jackson Brown has a charge account at Better Bank, which uses the unpaid balance method of computing finance charges. That means whatever money you haven't paid at the end of the month on your balance is what you then owe finance charges or late fees on. The periodic rate is 7.1%. That's your finance rate. If his previous balance of $920.20 and he had payments and credits of $673.29, find his unpaid balance and finance charge. If his new purchases of $176.23, find his new balance. Okay, basically, first line, previous balance. His previous balance was $920.20. Payments and credits. Well, we had total payments and credits of $673.29. Step one is to calculate the unpaid balance, and that's when you take the previous balance and you subtract any payments or credits. So $920.20 minus $673.29. That's going to give you an unpaid balance of $246.91. So again, you got your bill last month, but you only paid $673 when you should have paid $920. Because you didn't pay enough, you have to pay interest. So that's called our unpaid balance. That's how much we did not pay. So I'm just going to rewrite it down here, $246.91. And then what was our periodic rate? Our periodic rate was 7.10%. So change that to a decimal, 0.0710. Step 2 says to calculate the finance charge. That's when you take the unpaid balance and you multiply by the periodic rate. So take $246.91 and multiply by 0.0710. When you do this, you get a finance charge of $17.53. That's how much interest you have to pay because you did not pay your bill on time. So next line says, okay, what's your unpaid balance? $246.91. What's your finance charge? $17.53. New purchases. Well, we have new purchases of $176.23. Step 3 says to calculate your new balance. Your new balance is when you take your unpaid balance, you add your finance charge, and you add your new purchases. So $246.91, add the $17.53, and add the $176.23. That gives you a new balance of $440.67. And if he doesn't pay it all on time, he'll have to pay interest again on the amount of money that he owes. Okay, example number 2, different setup. You have a charge account with a periodic rate of 1.98%. Your monthly statement shows purchases totaling $403.25 and a payment of $123.89. Fill in the missing information. Okay, so it's the same type of problem as above, just in a simplified box. The box tells me I have a previous balance of $1,080.66. The periodic, let's see, new purchases, $403.25. Here's new purchases. We also have a finance charge box, an unpaid balance box, a payment and credit box. And our goal is to figure out what the new balance is. Let's see, the 1.98% is going to go with your finance charge, so I'm just going to put it up here to remind myself where it goes. And then I had a payment of $123.89, so $123.89. All right, so remember that payments and credits get subtracted. So I'm going to subtract the $1,080.66 minus $123.89. That's going to give me an unpaid balance of $956.77. Now, finance charges are calculated by taking the unpaid balance and multiplying by the finance charge. So I'm going to take this $956.77 and I'm going to multiply it by the finance percentage as a decimal. So multiply it by 0.0198. That's going to give me a finance charge of $18.94. That's more money I have to pay, so I'm going to add it. New purchases is also more money I have to pay, so I'm going to add it. So my new balance, I'm going to take my unpaid balance, I'm going to add my finance charge, I'm going to add my new purchases. This is going to give me a total of $1,378.96. So as long as you can remember what gets added and what gets subtracted, it's not that bad. Moral of the story, pay your balance off. Then you won't have to calculate any of these finance charges. You have zero. Okay, example number 3. If Scott Hoff has a balance of $429.50, so $429.50 on a credit card, that charges a finance charge computed at 2.5%. That's your finance charge. What is the new balance? Okay, well, we don't have any payments or credits, so I don't have anything subtracted. So my unpaid balance is still $429.50. To calculate a finance charge, I'm going to take the $429.50 and I'm going to multiply by 2.5% as a decimal, so 0.025. This is going to give me my finance charge, which is $10.74. New purchases, I do not have any new purchases, so that is going to go away. So to find my new balance, I'm going to take my unpaid balance and I'm going to add my finance charge. That's going to give me, so $429.50, and I'm going to add my finance charge of $10.74. That's going to give me a new balance of $440.24. All right, last example. Susie has a credit card that carries a periodic rate of 2.3%. So remember, periodic rates, same thing as finance charges computed at is APR. Well, APR is for the whole year and a periodic rate is for the month. Her previous balance is $540.90, so we're going to put that in the previous balance box. She made payments of $124. She also had another payment of $79.40. So I'm going to stack those. She also made new purchases of $56.87. find Susie's new balance. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is take the previous balance and I'm going to subtract both of the payments and credits. So to get this spot, I'm going to do 540.90 minus the 124 and minus the 79.40. So that's going to give me an unpaid balance of 337.50. That's how much she still owes. So because she didn't pay it off, we have a finance charge. So I'm going to take my unpaid balance, 337. That's really ugly. 337.50, that unpaid balance, and multiply it by the finance percentage rate, 0.023 as a decimal. That's going to give me a finance charge of $7.76. So I'm going to take my unpaid balance, I'm going to add my finance charges, I'm going to add my new purchases. So 337.50, add the 776, and add the 56.87. That's going to give me a new balance of $402.13. Make sure you pay it off or the vicious cycle keeps going. All right, kids, that is the end of section 6.4. If you have any questions, please let me know. And as always, keep calm and keep trucking.